The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. Also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And it is showtime once again here back on the College Baseball Experience. I'm your host, Noah Bieniek, aka 77, and I've got a special show for you guys. We don't often do this. Actually, very rarely do we ever do this, but with College World Series, every single season, there's media day prior to the tournament beginning. It's a whole 8-hour spectacle, and I've applied for media this year. I got denied, but this is still my job, and I'm going to deliver some content to the people that it is an 8-hour long video on the NCAA's YouTube page. I know people don't have the 8 hours to listen to it all at once. Some people, they're working and they don't have the ability to listen to it. And also I post a lot of these clips, all of these clips that I'm going to show to you today. This show is called Media Day Highlights. All of these I have posted to my Twitter, but I know a lot of people that listen to this show on podcast platforms don't have Twitter. And also, I want to say I apologize for my spotty internet, as the internet has not improved. I'm plugged into Ethernet. It's just my family has so many devices. Our house has old Wi-Fi, and it can't, unfortunately, cannot be upgraded because we're on fiber cable. So you would have to go completely through our backyard and dig up the cable and replace it. And my family's just not ready to do that currently. So I know the spotty internet kind of ruins the video, but honestly, it's coaches and kids sitting at a podium. You don't really need to see the video clearly. Unlike last night when I tried to do a transfer portal video, just potato Wi-Fi doesn't really help when I'm trying to show player highlights. But when it's just players and coaches talking about, I listen to it mainly to find out who's pitching. That's a huge reason why I listen to this. But also, I love the storytelling aspect to it. This is the first time really outside of the regionals and super regionals that you really get daily press conferences on these teams. And I've been doing it to social media on Twitter, and those clips have done tremendous when it comes to interactions. And I want to provide it here to the podcast platform. So yeah, I've picked out at least one highlight for every single team, but there are multiple highlights for some of these teams. It's going to be about a 50 minute show. And then right after this, I'll be live again, giving out some Friday picks for the College World Series. So without further ado, let's jump into the 2024 Men's College World Series Media Day highlights that I've picked out here. I'm going to be screen recording this through YouTube. So, I would suggest you tune into YouTube if my Wi-Fi is okay, but you should still be able to hear the audio completely fine on podcast platforms. So here we go. The first team up at the podium today was North Carolina. And the quote here was from North Carolina head coach Scott Forbes. Because of that freshman class, it's been a very impactful crop. And shout out to Noah Darling and that entire College Baseball Central team. I know Noah, Jake McKeever, and Mark Garland were all in there asking questions away at all 8 teams. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to the ones that were covering all 8, the entire 8 or 9 hours that this thing was. So, respect to them for sure. But let's get this first clip here of Scott Forbes, North Carolina head coach.
Coach, obviously, it's easy to talk about Vance and Parks and the guys that have been around college baseball forever. Talk about the impact of this freshman class and what made it kind of the secret sauce for this team's success.
Yeah, Coach Gaines, Coach Wiersbicki, and Coach Howell, I've been in their shoes, and I know how many hours you're behind the wheel of a car and, Matter of fact, this morning we were joking. We felt like we were in the olden days. Well, not the olden days. I guess what you do now. You start games at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock at Lake Point. We call it Bake Point. But they just did a great job putting that class together. And when we got them here for summer school, and that's something that we've been able to do at North Carolina, which has been really valuable. They take 2 classes. I get to be around them a lot. And now the draft is later, so the guys can really start seeing, okay, if they do end up signing professionally, what they might potentially miss. And it was a close-knit group. We had some older guys back, Jake Knapp being one of those, Vance doing his rehab that spent a lot of time around that class, so they helped them mature pretty quick. But as soon as we started up in the fall, it was clear, like, okay, this is an extremely talented class. We felt like we needed way more depth, especially on the mound, and we felt like, we had hoped that this class could address that. So, with what we had returning, we felt like if some, 2 of these or 3 of the position players, including the transfer portal guys, can make an impact, and some of these arms can make an impact, we had a chance to have a special team.
The next clip here, also from North Carolina, Vance Honeycutt. In my opinion, I think he's going to be a huge difference maker here in Omaha. Charles Schwab Field is one of the largest parks in college baseball. His speed in center field is going to be a gigantic difference maker, in my opinion. And here are his thoughts when he was asked about that.
A lot of fun, Vance, with the big diamond that you have out there with so much territory, is that an advantage for guys like with you and Anthony who can cover so much ground?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of balls that were hit at the box this year that kind of just like barely snuck out. I think Knopf just kind of like ran out of room and sometimes. So, being able to have a bigger park, just with a lot more room, it'll honestly just give us more chance to like just roam.
Vance, with the big diamond.
ACC back-to-back ACC Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not sure I disagree with him there. Now let's get to the next clip here. I might have misinterpreted this 8 hours ago, shortly after I woke up, because originally I interpreted it as Shea Sprague was the game 1 starter, but you take a listen to this and you determine for yourself. But the main part of this was that North Carolina head coach Scott Forbes was talking about how he plans to manage the pitching staff and talking about how Aiden Houck is probably going to move back into the bullpen here. And he had been acting as the game starter for them recently.
What's your pitching approach, knowing that if you make it to Tuesday, you're getting a day off every day? Does Aiden get used in the bullpen? What's your plan?
Oh yeah. The plan is to go after Virginia and go after that game. That is the plus of being out here and running a pitching staff and having those conversations. At the end of the day, you get, we don't play during the season unless it's midweek, but we play those big weekend series in our league. You don't get a day. So every one of our relievers, they're all horses. They all can handle a big workload. They've all been managed well all season. So we will move Aiden back into that bullpen to start for sure. He'll be available, ready to rock and roll against Virginia. And then, we'll try to beat Virginia, and then we'll announce a starter after that. Most likely it'll be Sprague.
So he says we'll announce a starter after that. Most likely it'll be Sprague. I think he was talking about game 2. Now that I go back on it. So I had tweeted out most likely going to be Shea Sprague, thinking that that meant for game 1. But I think Jason DeCaro is probably going to get the ball in game 1 here. That would be my assumption now. One last video here from North Carolina. They were the first team up at the podium, so I didn't know how many highlights like each team was going to have. I would say, like, looking back on it now, I clipped quite a bit from North Carolina's portion because they were the first team, and it was back to back, and I had the most time readily available to do North Carolina. This last clip here is just, I'm not. I'll save it for you guys to listen to.
Howard, Heard Out Sports. The other day, I heard some of the players share that after every email, you say you love them. And so many of them have talked about why that's such a special part of this team. Just at the foundation of this program, the team, why is this team so close-knit, and why has that love been a part of why this team's here?
I don't think we say it enough. And the older I've gotten, I just felt like I think it's important. And I think it's the most powerful word in the world. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. Love conquers all. It overcomes everything. And we don't have enough of it in general, and I I want these kids, you know, I sat down with our coaching staff this year before we started the fall. I said, I want Boshamer Stadium to be the place that they love the most. I want it to be the best part of their day. And the only way that can happen is if we lead by example every single day. Yeah, we're going to be competitive. We're going to coach them. We're going to be honest with them. There is tough love. But, you know, when you feel that as a player, I was a player, you know how much a person cares about you. And because they talk to you. And that's the key to coaching, in my opinion, getting to know every player individually. Because if you don't know what buttons to press with that player. But I also wanted them to know, like, this tough macho, you can love people and still be extremely tough. And matter of fact, I think you're going to be tougher. So I hope that will continue to be the backbone, and hopefully those guys will will understand that when they're older and more important things than just baseball.
That's a great clip. I wanted to pull that. Before I continue here with the rest of the other 7 teams, the promo for SGPN this week is, hey, join Noah Bieniek, aka myself, on the College Baseball Experience, live streaming each night on YouTube or available for download on all podcast platforms for daily coverage and picks of the greatest show on dirt, the College World Series, until the end of June. Also, Circa announced they're giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere with footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP to get $50 off. That's footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP. Pick 8 is now live for Underdog Fantasy and the NBA Finals. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part is that you can win up to 325x your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. And they're also offering College World Series player projections as well. So sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. So yeah, back to some of the media day coverage here. As this episode, I'm not making any money on it. We're gonna get copyright struck on it by the NCAA and or YouTube, but I don't really care. I enjoy going through a lot of the media day coverage, and I hope that some of you guys do. Personally, I'm not picking out any coach speak. Like, that's not for me either. I feel like I'm doing pretty well at able to weed out a lot of the coach speak, and unfortunately a lot with the players. They're just coming off the field from practice. They are still kind of operating and trying to be a little bit more professional. I mean, this is the first time that they've seen a full room of media. It's still not tremendously big, but I mean, compared to what they're used to on campus, it's like a classroom with 4 or 5 local reporters. Here you're getting about 20 to 25 reporters, I'm assuming. I'm not there in person. I don't know exactly how many are here, but a lot of the players were pretty short and tight-winded. So most of these videos are from coaches. So let's jump back into this. The storyline with Virginia every time they come to Omaha is Brian O'Connor grew up in the Omaha area, played college baseball for Creighton, played at or in the College World Series with the Blue Jays, and now he's taken Virginia. I think this is their 7th trip under him and 7th trip in their program history. So he has built this program all the way up, and every single time he comes back, the Omaha media loves to just eat it up, get all the stories, and it's really entertaining. The last one, he talks about how it's more about the kids, but he is giving the media kind of what they want here and telling some stories, and it's really good stuff. So this first one here is just about O'Connor talking about his roots and Rosenblatt Stadium and how Charles Schwab Field is perfect where it's at right now.
Stadium. And Brian, your first trip here as head coach played at Rosenblatt, which had was a legendary venue In 11, you helped open this stadium. You've been back several times. Is there a breaking in period for a stadium, a new venue like this? And has the atmosphere kind of evolved over the years since you've been back?
I think so. You know, being fortunate to grow up in this area and go to so many College World Series games as a youngster in old Rosenblatt Stadium, you know, the atmosphere there was special. And fortunately, in my career, I got to pitch in the event in that stadium. And then 2009, our first trip here, I actually also got a chance to coach in it when I was an assistant at Notre Dame 1 year in 2002. You know, and so 9 was special, right? To, you know, first time having grown up in that stadium to coach a team in it. Wasn't really crazy about who the manager was of the ball club in the other dugout. It happened to be one of my best friends, Paul Maneri, when he was coaching LSU. So wouldn't you know it, your first game that you're coaching in the College World Series is against your mentor. But certainly special Rosenblatt was, and you know, the people in the community in Omaha that have been around a long time know how special that stadium and how instrumental it was in growing the College World Series. That said, a great decision was made to move the ballpark and build a brand new ballpark for sustainability for a long period of time. And I think this ballpark being built in downtown Omaha has helped develop downtown Omaha. The amount of hotels down here now, all the teams can stay down here, the restaurants, you know, geez, my friend that owns the bar that has the Jello shots, you know, in a 2-week period, you know, he can live the rest of the year in Mexico after what he sells off Jello shots, you know. Kevin Colgett, who also went to my high school, he owns those bars there. And so, you know, listen, it's this is different. This is better. I loved Rosenblatt. This is better. It's more people. The fact that a fan can walk all the way around 360 around the stadium and take in great college baseball and, you know, everything that goes on with this ballpark. So it's at the right place. It's here to stay for a long, long time. And, you know, I said this yesterday. Somebody asked me what part of what makes this championship great. And certainly it's the community of Omaha and everything that goes on with it. But, you know, in college athletics, this is the only championship where there's a destination of a city, right? In the football championship, you know, they don't call it up after practice and say, you know, Phoenix 1 year and New Orleans the next or whatever it is. The fact that our championship is in the same location year after year and has been for over 50 years is really awesome because it's part of all these college baseball programs in the country building their year and their program about getting the opportunity to come to this great city.
The next clip here that I have is from O'Connor also talking about why Virginia's baseball team wears ribbons on their hats.
Buchanan's dad, Chase Madison, 10-11 now in Lincoln. Just for the general fan, it's hard to miss the ribbons on y'all's hats honoring Matthew Buchanan's dad. Just how cool is it to be able to have something to resemble him? And I guess maybe talk a little bit about that journey through this season and that kind of impacting the team.
Yeah, so that's what the ribbon on our hat reflects. You know, one of our players, Matt Buchanan, his father was diagnosed with cancer in mid-December. He was treated at the UVA hospital in Charlottesville, even though they weren't from there. And sadly, he passed away on opening day this year. And so we put these ribbons on our hat to stand in solidarity with Matt and his family. Certainly as a head coach for 21 years and a coach overall for over 30, I've dealt with this before, where you've had a young man in your program that a parent passes away while they're under your care. And so shortly after he passed and the funeral service, I actually called a coach from another school that we were scheduled to play a game and asked him if we could move it to the next day in a midweek game so we could bus our entire team down there to Southwest Virginia to support Matt and his family. And so, you know, the team just made a decision that they were going to keep it on their hats all year. Matt's a incredibly unselfish team first guy and will do anything he can to help the team. And so it's the right thing to do to support him and his family.
Ryan Hasty in the YouTube chat talking about tragic magic and that he's nervous about fading Virginia now. Now this one was quite surprising. I did not strike Brian O'Connor as a supporter of transfer portal and NIL. Now I don't know if he's being tongue in cheek, but his statement, he's like, you just have to adapt to it and start recruiting with it. So this was a really interesting answer, and I think it's worth being heard.
21 years in this job is a long time to be doing it. Longevity in college athletics is hard, and getting to Omaha 7 times is really hard. What keeps you going? What enables you to keep pushing forward so that each class has a shot at getting to Omaha?
Well, what gets me going is every year giving the players an opportunity to be in a position to have this experience, right? And I don't want to let them down, okay? Because they when they make a decision to come to our program, our history has shown that they have a really high percentage of chance to have this opportunity to be on a team to go to Omaha. And I'm proud as heck of that, right? So first and foremost, I don't want to let them down, right? And, a lot has been made over the last couple of years in college athletics with regards to the transfer portal and NIL and all that kind of stuff, right? I love it. Okay, I do. It has rejuvenated me, right? Rather than it being stale and the same thing in college athletics all the time, I've embraced it. I think it's fantastic, right? There's some downsides to it. I get it, right? But as an elite level college baseball coach, if you don't embrace it and figure out within your program, what do we need to do in this kind of landscape to continue to compete at the highest level, guess what? You'll get passed by, right? So I don't spend any time complaining about it. I say, bring it on, okay? And let's figure out in today's landscape, what do we need to do to continue to provide these young men the opportunity that they signed up for?
The next team that we jumped into was Tony Vitello. And the first thing that I quoted here, and I did not make a video for this, but this is him on the pitching situation here. He goes, we've kind of played Tetris all year long. We're going to stay true to ourselves. We're going to roll with Chris Stamos. That's their game one pitcher there. By the way, Virginia is going to start Evan Blanco. He was on the podium there for themselves as well. So Blanco's going to start game one for the Who's. Tony Vitello then continues to go, we don't know who they're throwing. They have thrown a few names out there at us. Going back here to my feed, the next video that we have on Vitello is his thoughts about the stat about number one overall team not winning a national championship since 1999.
It's evaporating. It's a number. It's first of all, it's difficult to get here. And once you're here, it's even more difficult to win. And part of that is the talent that's here. So the seeding to me kind of evaporates. It's valuable in the first round because if you line up those 4 teams, the 1 seed is normally going to get, the team that maybe is not as potent as the others. But once you get here, there aren't really any underdogs or anything like that. I talk with Sully throughout the year, and they have a team like we had last year. There's plenty of talent, but they kind of had to go through, figure out what combination works and, overcome some things. And kudos to them for making it here. But all you got to do is stand next to Cags for 2 seconds. And there's no more underdogs. They had to go on the road again like we did last year. So anybody can beat anybody. Everybody knows that. And then you mentioned the numbers, whether it's 1999 or just numbers game in general, it really is a numbers game. Now there's a championship series. There wasn't when I was younger. So really the only 4 teams that matter are us and the 3 that we're in that group with. So out of 4 teams, one of them's got to come out. So just like those other 3 teams right now, our guys are saying, well, why not us? 1 out of 4, regardless of who's ranked or slotted where. And then Hunter brought it up. He listed off, I think, a social media thing I've never even heard of. And I'm not on Twitter. I'll mess around with Instagram a little bit. But you said 1999. If you jump on the Google machine, you'll see that's right about when social media started. And then it picked up steam. So I don't think those 2 things are coincidence. And we've dealt with it this year. We knew some things were coming when the NCAA committee, not that there's any conspiracies or anything out there, but there was a couple things that were going to happen with that bracket. Everybody predicted that in January. And so our guys had to battle not only the teams that we were playing against, but some of those underlying storylines that were available in our regional and other spots like that. And how you confront those storylines and those labels that people give, whether it's your seed or this can happen or can happen, that now is part of competition for young kids. Where they're ranked by perfect game in high school, it's part of competition. So our guys need to compete against the right things, and they need to choose what those right things are. And again, when we play Florida State, they're one of 4 teams, but they're the only one that matters on Friday, and they are very, very good.
Next highlight, also from Vitello here. Good quote. Good quote. I will say that. We'll jump in right into it here.
John Wilkerson, WNML, the sports animal. Coach, it's the first time that Tennessee's made back-to-back trips, and 3 in the last 4 years. And I'm curious, for the guys that were a part of the journey that didn't play in 21 or last year, what is it like to see so many of them have ownership in that Tennessee wouldn't have been here this year without them and big-time contributions as they progress?
It's huge. And if you've seen The Last Dance, you take motivation any way you can get it. And I think a lot of those guys were motivated just to get here and experience it. If they hadn't, to get here and maybe play a little bit more of a role, to get here and get action, or to get here and play better than they did in the past if they're in the other categories. So, but it's really fun to see this lineage. At Missouri, if you count the years I was on the team trying to play and getting out there every now and then and coaching, it's longer than Tennessee. But now I've been here longer than the other 2 spots combined. So I'm not a big, my dad was at the same school for 48 years. So it's kind of nice to see that lineage that he had while he was there. And now we're kind of getting that with our deal. And it's paying dividends that some of the older players can coach the younger players. And there's a little bit of handing down the torch.
So after Tennessee, I went back to Virginia just because there was a lot of different good stories that were told during theirs, because O'Connor being from Omaha, there was a lot of stories from him. But Henry Ford was on the podium. He's a freshman. And he's also got a great story himself. He grew up in Charlottesville as a Virginia baseball fan, traveled with his dad and uncle to Omaha when UVA appeared in Omaha for the 2nd time in program history. And then Brian O'Connor kind of threw in a funny joke.
Greg Medea from the Daily Progress. Henry, I know you've spoken about how you grew up watching Virginia teams get to the College World Series. What's it like for you to be here for the first time and get to experience it yourself, to run through the postseason here?
Yeah, it's definitely a dream come true. And I was here in 11 and experienced it from the stands, and it was, a great event and one of the best experiences of my life. And to be here and experience it on the field and have a chance to compete for a title is a blessing, and I don't take it for granted. I'm just really grateful for it.
Eric Olson again, AP. Henry, what was the circumstance for you being here in 2011?
I came with my dad and my uncle just as a fan. I grew up a Virginia baseball fan growing up in Charlottesville, so we took the trip out in 2011 just to watch and enjoy it.
That was an easy commitment.
In case you couldn't hear O'Connor at the end there, he goes, that was an easy commitment to the program there. This one is just a straight comment. We'll hit on this one before I jump into the entire Florida State. It was very, very good. Just a small sample of questions that were asked to Link Jarrett, because 2 of them were Mike Martin, and he took the questions and ran with it. I couldn't cut any of that. It's like 5.5 minutes long. That one's going to be the last clip because it took me the longest to make. But this quote here specifically of Alex Lodis, I said he might have been a little too transparent here in the press conference, because this is me paraphrasing, but he basically said that right field in Charles Schwab Field is much deeper, and it's not the big fence that they're used to with Dick Howser Stadium. And it reminded me of some statements from Wake Forest last season where I wasn't really expecting to hear it from the specific Seminoles team, maybe a couple other teams in this field, but not really Florida State that I would have heard it from. So I was surprised, but still, like, the big field is definitely a factor here as we enter the 2024 College World Series. Also, Link Jarrett said that Jamie Arnold is going to get the ball for him. And for Tennessee, he's going up against Chris Stamos and AJ Causey, that duo. Before we continue on with the coverage here from the media day highlights, if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is a prediction and projections app that makes data and analytics in sports betting easy for everyone. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you better AI-backed betting decisions. Prop predictions are paired with trend graphs so you can see for yourself whether or not the projection has meat, making betting easier for sports bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by best in-class data, without you needing to endlessly scroll a sports book or look at multiple sites for trends and predictions. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. We're also brought to you by Game Time, as Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals and all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Personally, I bought tickets through Game Time to go see Jack Leiter's MLB debut in Detroit. You can use Game Time to go attend a College World Series game if you're somewhere near Omaha for the next 2 weeks. So I highly encourage you to use our promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. And with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. You can save even more in app with the exclusive deals on select seats ahead of the event with their flash deals. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's jump back into this immediately with Link Jarrett, talking about the Tennessee Volunteers and Florida State Seminoles matchup.
Far off, is it?
Ryan Shumpert, Rocky Top Insider. How does this Tennessee offense this season compare to the one you faced in 2022?
It's probably not far off, is it? It's not. Damaging, threatening, physical, intense, balanced. Just pick whatever you want, man. I mean, I know what we're walking into, and I know what we walked into in 2022. So, and I told the guys, and I'll tell them again, the game, once the game starts, it doesn't know. So our stats, their stats, the game doesn't know what's supposed to happen. You have to go manage and take charge of the game, and there'll be opportunities for that game to go one way or another. Either you're bringing your A stuff in the A moment or you're not. And the pendulum, it'll go one way or another. So I know how good they are. Like, they're unbelievably talented. And this is a little bit of Clash of the Titans. I think our team, emotional team, like, this is an emotional group. And sometimes that emotion, we've seen it spill over a little bit where the guys hit a home run, the excitement, the punch out. What you're going to see, I don't think we've ever seen it before. And this Clash of the Titans, it's going to be exciting. Like, people are looking forward to this. Our guys are looking forward to it. I know the Tennessee crowd is thrilled. I've seen how passionate they are. I think we have the best fans in the world. The pitch by pitch engagement, man, this is top of the food chain stuff.
So after that, we had a couple of members from the NCAA that joined in to the press conference, taking some questions on a multitude of things. You had ABCA member talking about just the current landscape of college baseball. You had NCAA rules official talking about umpiring, and that part kind of dragged on for me a little bit there. There was not much meat to the bone, in my opinion. One person was talking about, if the NCAA tournament expands here, that if there would be a possible playing games for 3 and 4 seeds, And I overreacted there, just saying like 4 seeds that win conference auto bids should not be in playing games. I just think that whole concept is dumb. Even with the NCAA basketball tournament, if that comes over to the college baseball tournament in a one and done format, I just completely disagree with that. And also Anthony Holman of the NCAA said that the amount of officials and umpiring, volunteers they're employees, they get paid to do it. But in college athletics, it's reaching crisis low levels. That was his quote. And a big reason for that, and officials leaving currently, is quote unquote treatment. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. Let's jump over to our next team here. If my computer wants to operate, it's right now frozen because of fucking course. Hopefully you are all able to still hear me on the podcast. And if you are, the purpose of me doing this is the media event is 8 hours long. And I know most people have normal work lives and they're not listening to this entire thing for 8 hours. I actually enjoy it. I listen to it for information when it comes to starting pitcher announcements. But I'm not making any money off of this episode for our YouTube page. We're going to get copyright strike. But we're a podcast. I value you guys being able to listen to the words coming straight from the people's mouths that are talking about this, and instead of me relaying a message. So that's why I choose to, do it the way that I'm doing it. Also, I appeared on Sirius XM College Sports Radio today, channel 84. So that was pretty awesome. I never really thought that my name would be pinned inside Dennis Dodd because of the Big 12 conference news today. And also Patty Gasso, who was the head coach of Oklahoma softball, who's now won 4 national championships in a row. That is an absolute honor. That was very, very cool. There was a bunch of college sports news in general today. A couple of extensions were announced. But yeah, this one here, I was really excited for Coach Nick Mingione of Kentucky to take the stage and get some national spotlight. He's a talker though. Like a lot of his clips would have been so long. He talks for like 4 or 5 minutes straight. So unfortunately I didn't clip the some of the best moments from that segment. But at the end here, he was very passionate in saying this. Each season, the residents of Omaha, the every year goers, they adopt the team and they really root them on. Like last year, it was Oral Roberts. They typically adopt the Cinderella. Coach Mingione was putting up a good fight for his team to be the one that Omaha adopts here this year.
Thank you all for being here. I do want to say this. If you can put this out, this would mean a lot to me. If the people of Omaha are looking for a team to root for, this is your team. This is your team. We are the first timers. We want to have a great experience. We want to be lifted up. I've seen this city and I've seen the people of this place lift up opposing teams. I've watched this thing over and over. And if they're looking for a team that competes at the highest level and has an amazing time doing it, we would love for you to jump on board. There are so many seats on the Kentucky bandwagon. We have Eli Small, who is from Elkhorn. He's a Nebraska guy who just loves this place. We've been talking about bringing him home all year. So if you can hear my voice and you can see this video, whatever, and you're like, I wonder who I'm going to root for, let it be the Cats. Thank you. Go Cats.
I'm telling you, Coach Mingione could sell me a used car. I'm totally bought into this guy and what he's doing at Kentucky with their program. It's not easy to do. It's one of the worst jobs in all of the SEC, and he's absolutely thriving right now and excelling at the highest level in one of the best conferences in the country. We'll find out which one was the best between the ACC and the SEC this year. But grab your popcorn, everybody. We've got a couple of clips from NC State. Before actually they took the podium, though, Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball tweeted out that Brian O'Connor signed a contract extension through 2031. So the Virginia head baseball coach is staying around for much longer. He and Tony Bennett, the basketball coach for Virginia, signed contract extensions today. So the Virginia athletic department just wanted to get them both out of the way on the same day. So outstanding there. Lane Elliott says, begging for love. Does it work like that? But I respect him throwing it out there. For Kentucky, I think it's going to work just because it's their first trip to Omaha. I think a lot of people are going to buy in to Kentucky, but I also think a lot of people will buy into this next team, NC State.
Hey, Sam. Eric Olson with the Associated Press. Started to ask you this outdoors. Just take me through your memories of that last game that you played here in Omaha in 20. I mean, the Iron 13 players for NC State, and how you played Vanderbilt real close, and you played a key role in that.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster of a day. So many good and bad memories from that 24-hour period. And obviously means a lot to be a part of something that was that special and, etched in Wolfpack history. But I also, every time I think about that 13, I think about the 14 guys that couldn't be out there that day. And so, it was great, but, I'm just excited to be back.
Hey, Sam.
So that was Sam Heifel, who's kind of the hero and one that conducted a lot of the chaos that NC State was able to cause on the baseball field with their success, getting into the driver's seat of that bracket. And unfortunately, we all know what happened there at Elliott Avent. There's a couple of clips of him coming up here talking about just that thing.
And how long did it take for the sting of 2021 to wear off for you, if it has?
Oh, yeah. The sting of 21 wore off immediately for me. I remember being in that room at 1:30 in the morning telling the players we were going home, and I didn't see a dry eye or smile the entire bus ride to the airport, entire flight home. And when we got back to the stadium, there was 2,000 people waiting for us, unbeknownst to us. Total surprise. And as the players walked on the field and we saw 2,000 people in the stands and they had a microphone and I spoke and some players spoke, it's the first time I saw the healing process begin and the smiles come back on the faces. And they knew how admired they were. I think that was America's team that year. Everybody talked about this is America's team. So, but if you're going to do a job and if you're going to, I'll pick our sport, baseball, if you're going to be the baseball coach here, if you try to coach beyond that with that on your mind, you're never going to prepare another team to decide. I put that. There's certain things I can't put behind me. And one's the death of my mother and father and good friends along the way that eat at me every day. I was talking to Aaron Fitt, I'd love to have Bruce Winkworth here with me today. He was with me forever. And George Tarantini was always sitting in the crowd, no matter what big game I won. He was he always found a way to be sitting out there in a press conference like that. But, I've never thought about the sting of 21 since then. It doesn't mean I've forgotten, and it doesn't mean I forgive, because neither one exists. But I don't ever think about it.
So now a reporter without a mic
Go ahead.
asks him,
Sir? I said,
who would you forgive?
They know who they are. They know who they are.
So that was pretty good. He asks who would be eligible for you to forgive, and he goes, "They know who they are. They know who they are." With a pretty pissed off face, pretty pissed off grin on his face there. The next clip from Avent here, he says, "The hardest thing that I've ever done is having to sit 27 players down who gave their heart and soul, blood and sweat to achieve a goal of a lifetime and tell them that we're going home." This one's pretty strong too.
Jackson Reyes, the Omaha World Herald. Can you just talk about what it means to you to have a guy like Sam get back here and have another chance in playing in the College World Series?
Well, it means absolutely everything. I thought his answer was unreal. I thought his answer was who he is. Taking any team back here is special, but we have 4 guys, I believe. Tyler can help me. I think it's 4 guys, 7 that were on that 21 team that were part of this year's team, but 4 that are here with us now. And for those guys to get back here, because nobody will ever understand how difficult, and I've had some difficult conversations in my career with players over many things. The hardest thing I've ever done is having to sit 27 players who gave their heart and soul and blood and sweat and to achieve a goal of a lifetime and tell them we were going home. So to have those 4 guys back on this trip, it means a lot to me.
It would be a storybook ending for sure for NC State, and also Link Jarrett's son. I can't think of his name off the top of my head now. I got to look it up, but Link Jarrett's son was on. Sorry, he was on that 2021 NC State team. So Link Jarrett was there as a parent watching the NC State debacle all happen. His son JT is a assistant coach on the NC State coaching staff right now. So yeah, just cool. Another story once again here in this year's College World Series field. And we on my feed you can see Heard at Sports, they work together with D1 Baseball. They were interviewing Logan Whitaker, who's also on that 2021 team. Also, Mike Monaco doing the Solar Flare Sunflower Seed Challenge, which is basically like your hot chip challenge in sunflower seed form. Now we're going to jump over to, by the way, starting pitchers, Trey Poozer for Kentucky and Sam Heifel for NC State there. Now let's jump over to the final game, the final 2 teams that we have to cover here. The first clip here is Texas A&M head coach Jim Schlossnagle was talking about the possible wind direction ahead of Ryan Prager's start against Florida Saturday night. I found this really interesting.
Prager is not normally a big strikeout pitcher. The ball gets put in play a lot, just hopefully weekly. So in this ballpark, I looked at the weather and I think the wind's going to be blowing in Saturday night with a little front coming through. So, we're a team that the home run's a big part of our offense, but maybe it'll help us keep Florida in the ballpark. But to answer your question, Prager he doesn't have to be perfect, but he can't get away with bad pitches really too often. Prager.
The next clip here is based on Texas A&M's baseball traditions, and this year specifically being Rattling Ball.
Show with KBTX coach. I want to ask you about the traditions at A&M. I know the school itself has all of its traditions. The baseball team has a ton of traditions around it. Each year you guys have your own unique ones. You had the Pringles, the Whammy Wagon. Now it's Rattling Bog. Just what are these unique things about each team? I guess why do you do it, and what makes it so special?
First of all, I have nothing to do with any of them. Pringles came out of just a speech when I was mad at the team. That wagon thing, that was Lavalette coming up, and Rattling Bog was Lavalette and shot. So, I think baseball lends itself to that. You have so much free time. You play every day. It's even more so in professional baseball. So you come up with something to break them. I don't know. I guess you could call it monotony, but just something to keep everybody positive. There's a lot of failure, in baseball. So you need something to bring the guys back to neutral and keep them positive and keep them uplifted. And so I think baseball players tend to do that more often than other sports. I think if you went around every successful team, they have something. And it just so happens that A&M, we're such a big school in the SEC, with a lot of eyes on you, it just gets, it gets, and the 12th man, everybody kind of catches on with whatever the team's doing. And I think what's unique about A&M is the connection between the team and the fans. So if we get it going, and if it's good, or if it's Pringles, or if it's whatever, then the connection between the team and in any sport at A&M and the 12th man, the true connection of that you don't have at every school, that's what breeds itself to make it become so popular, because the fans are part of the team and the team are part of the fans.
Also in my feed today, just some transfer news. We'll hit on the notable transfers, but Jason Torres committed to Alabama today. And Parker Bird got an RBI single also on my feed. Now let's get to another question from Noah Darling of College Baseball Central, asking Jason Laviolette and Gavin Grahovic, how they're going to rally behind or around Braden Montgomery right here. I was almost about to say Braden Smith, Purdue's point guard.
Noah Darling, College Baseball Central. Gavin, Jace, obviously the loss to Braden in the early in the Super Regional there. How do you guys rebound from that, and how do you rally around him?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, you never want to see anybody go down like that, but especially Braden right there. That was really tough, and even in the moment, that was really, really, really hard for the dugout to kind of stay in. You kind of felt the dugout kind of. It was like we had something in our stomach. It was just like you could feel it, right? But we just kind of had to realize like what was important. We always say what's important now, right? And the most important thing right there was winning that ball game. And so now we just kind of have to look at it as like, I mean, I think the whole team has the utmost trust in every single person that comes off the bench. We all know we're ready to play. We've put everything that we possibly can into this team and into making it what we have so far. So I feel really good. Like I'd be foolish if I was up here saying that we won't miss him, because obviously we will. He's a big part of why we're here. But I mean, Caden Kin is unbelievable, as y'all saw. So I feel super, super confident.
Yeah, it's tough to lose a guy like Braden. Great teammate, great person. Built a great relationship with him, and he's going to continue to be a great teammate as we continue to go through this journey. But like he said, every guy's got to step up now. So whoever's coming off the bench, whoever's going to play, like you saw the other day, Caden Kent, huge swing, huge plays. It's gonna be awesome. We're having a great time, and Braden's gonna be here with us.
So yeah, I found the vote of confidence in Caden Kent pretty impressive too. As he had that grand slam in Game 2 against Oregon, and son of former MLB MVP Jeff Kent, their vote of confidence in Kent. This offense isn't gonna take a step back without Montgomery. If anything, they'll be just fine, in my opinion. Last clip here is somebody asked Jim Schlossnagle about Jack Caglione and how they approach him at the plate. Everybody knows Caglione for his big power and on the mound. I thought this storyline by both Schloss and we'll talk about Kevin O'Sullivan coming up about Caglione here was pretty interesting, to say the least. So let's jump into this clip here.
The thing about Jack I don't know Jack. I obviously have a lot of admiration for him. The thing that I don't know if he gets enough, like he's the best defensive first baseman I've ever seen in college baseball. And I mean, it's not close. And I've coached some good ones and coached 2 USA teams that had good ones. And he's an unbelievable defender that can also, I think he can go to the outfield. I mean, he made catch against us in Gainesville where he ran all the way down up against the fence and dodged the ball boy and caught one up against the fence. And then he did the exact same thing in the SEC tournament. So he changes the game with his glove, not as much as he does with his bat, but he's a complete player. He's looking to do damage from the first pitch, so you can't go slowly into the at bat. You have to be super intentional. But I can tell you this: he's a great player. But when we went down there and lost 2 out of 3 at the beginning of the conference play, it was the other guys that beat us. I went into it thinking about Cags and Colby Shelton and those guys, and then it was Heyman and the other dudes, the right-handed hitters that were smoking the ball over the field. So, they're a great team. As I just told Sully, death, taxes in Florida, in Omaha. Those are 3 things you can pretty much count on. So hopefully we can get our program to that point. But Cags is, you can only control so much. So just try to have him hit with nobody on.
Last team here that we had to cover today was Florida. And the storyline that a lot of the reporters there in person were trying to build was this team does have the College World Series experience, as they were 1 game away from the national championship last year. And they asked both Jack Caglione and Brandon Neely that here. And here's the clip.
Associated Press. Jack, could you kind of discuss the advantages, if there are, of having experience? I mean, you got 6 or 7 everyday guys that were here a year ago.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Beginning of the year, we just wanted to get back here. So having guys who've played here and kind of know what it's like with the atmosphere and stuff, I think it's just going to play in our favor. This is what you work for all year. Coming up 1 game short last year definitely kind of put a chip on our backs for the guys who returned and stuff like that. So having another shot at it is really just something that we don't take for granted. We're thankful to be here and we're excited to play here.
All fall leading up to this year we've all been grinding and try to get back to where we left off last year. And falling 1 game short last year has motivated a bunch of us coming back, and a bunch of
people coming into this program, a freshman and a Colby, and wanting to play here, come to the big stage. So, yeah.
Alrighty. And then our last clip on Florida is on Sully talking about Jack Caglianone's defense. And he had no prior knowledge about the compliment that Schloss had tossed to Cags just probably an hour and 20 minutes before this.
Hey, Coach, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Other than the obvious physical gifts, what makes Caglianone a special player?
Well, I think you have to start with the physical gifts he has. I mean, he's the biggest, strongest guy in the field. But the thing that it's always easy to talk about is pitching and hitting, but he's incredibly talented at first base defensively. And I can't remember the last time he's made a mistake on the base pass. I mean, he's a complete baseball player. I mean, and those are the things that sometimes can get overlooked because of his size and his power and, his pitching ability. But he's a complete player. And one day he'll be a Gold Glover at first base. He's that good. And he can run better than what people think. I mean, he's a really good runner. So obviously he's got a great career ahead of him. But those are the other things that people, have a tendency to maybe overlook. But I mean, he's a complete player.
So now the final clip. Oh, also more news. Long Beach State, they're hiring TJ Bruce, who's the assistant head coach over at TCU. He is now heading over to Long Beach State to be the next Dirtbags head coach. And also Jack Caglianone becomes the first college baseball player to sign an exclusive deal with Topps/Fanatics. This deal encompasses both trading cards and memorabilia. Caglianone tweets out, excited for what's in store. So if you're down there in Omaha, there might be some trading cards and memorabilia for Caglianone out there in the wild. This last clip, though, it's the best one of the day. It's Link Jarrett talking about just, I tweeted out, I just couldn't cut any of this. It's 5+ minutes, but Link Jarrett was asked 2 straight questions about late legendary head coach Mike Martin. Just listen to these 5 minutes here and learn about how 11 is personified in the Seminoles team this year and what is fueling Jarrett during this postseason run. As Link played for Mike Martin. He coached alongside Martin for 1 season and now is the head coach trying to deliver what Florida State does not have yet. So I thought this clip was outstanding too.
Noah Darling, College Baseball Central.
And shout out to Noah.
College baseball and Florida State community lost Mike Martin earlier this year. How does his legacy and how is it personified on this team?
I can hear his voice, and it probably talks to me more than any other athletically minded voice could ever speak to me. Like, you hear a lot of people talk and you think about things, and I've had other great coaches around me in my time, but I played for him, and I can hear his voice talk to me as a player. I can hear his voice talk to me as a young coach when I coached with him for 1 season. I can hear his voice talking to his family. So I learned so many different things from what is just a remarkable human being. He's an amazing person in my life. He was like a second father figure to me. And the times on the field and learning and the foundation of how to play the game at the college level. The college game is different. It's not Major League Baseball. It's just, this is different. It's not high school baseball. That each one of those worlds has its own feel to it. And then there's recruiting and other things that go into it. But my foundation was laid in a lot of those areas by him. And I hear his voice. And I hear his voice in games of thinking through maneuvers and bullpen management and defensive things and offensive parts of the game. And then you have to evolve with your personality and style from your foundation. So you're building off of what you learn initially. And then I'm different than, there's only one of him. There's only one. And I'm very fortunate to have been around him a lot. And I got to spend some time with him in some days where the decline was rapid. And I'm very fortunate that I did that. I can hear his voice in every different walk of my being. And it's an important voice.
Jason Patterson, Island CWS. Coach, with 11 in mind and what you talked about earlier, all the different angles that you've had as a player, as a coach, and as a dad, what are the major insights you pull out? What do you communicate to the different teams you bring here, and how do you communicate it?
Well, when he talked about pitching, if you start with baseball, pitching, defense, and base running. And when you're playing, you're like, hey, man, I want to hit too. Like, we got to, but when you look at it now, he knew if you could pitch, play defense, and run the bases, you were going to be in every single game. Every single game. Offensively, to go further, you have to figure out a way against the type of arms that we're going to deal with here. You'll have to figure out a way to scratch and claw and score. But the fundamental of pitching, defense, and base running, I can hear him say, you talk about voice, like I can hear pitching, defense, and base running. That's what this is about. Like, and I know why that was the case. So you can start with that. Now, I talk about 11 a lot, and part of the room that we have, which the tradition room, I have a TV that's dedicated solely to his story and his accolades and his life, and Carol's on there. And when you go in there and push play, it'll tell you the whole story. So it's that important to me and to that program that we have 1/4 of the space to him and what he did there. And that's going to stay right there. So everybody that walks in, you want to walk in and hear it, there it is. And it runs like it's running, like he's on there and his picture is there. Now I want to win it for him. Like, why as a player couldn't I get it done? It keeps me up. Like, what did I not do? What were we not doing that kept us from that? And part of the reason the 5 program pieces, I was so determined to figure out myself what I needed to do to get it done here. Did I ever think I'd be sitting here coaching it? No, you don't think that that's going to happen. You don't. But I owe it to the program, him, to figure out how to finish it. So that's the messaging. Our guys were thrilled. Like, we're sitting there in the room, and I told them, when we walk out of this room and you get on that plane, there's 400 people standing along sides of the bus. You're going to walk through that, and this will never be the same. Like, it's never. So when we get up and leave, like, you're going to feel differently the moment you open that locker room door and off you go, and here it starts. But in that corner, in the cabinet trophy case there's something missing. So I'm not happy to walk out through the people. That probably doesn't come off right. I'm happy to walk through to come where we are trying to take that bus and that plane, but I'm not happy with the result that I've had. So what do we do when we walk out of that room to enjoy those moments, but try to make sure that the result for us is just a little bit better and gets us that final trophy that is not sitting in that cabinet over there. So that's what all of that means to me and what I need to accomplish here to really feel like I've completed this.
So now I was fully bought in to Link Jarrett when he was with Notre Dame. But just after that 5+ minutes of him talking about just how much Martin means to him and Florida State baseball means to him, and how much how much drive he has to deliver a national championship to this place. I'm happy that he didn't win it all with Notre Dame, just so he can win his first one with Florida State. And if it happens this year, that would be a tremendous story. It's your true tragic magic story, as Martin passed away this past January, this season in 2024. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. I really enjoyed, going through a lot of the media day stuff. And I know some people would if it wasn't like an 8-hour long video on YouTube. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed a lot of the highlights that I picked out here. And pitching matchup, I forgot to mention for Texas A&M Florida, Liam Peterson's getting the start for Florida, and Ryan Prager's going to go for A&M. Prager wasn't a secret, but Florida could have elected to go with Cags on full rest. They're going to keep it the same. But yeah, I mean, go check out. So if you have SiriusXM, you can go and replay the segment I was on at 5:30 p.m. East the College Sports Radio, channel 84 over there on Sirius XM, talking College World Series. I was on VSiN earlier this week. I'm going to be here on the College Baseball Experience YouTube in 10 minutes talking Friday games with Will Massa of Overdue Sports. And also, it's going to be right there on the podcast feeds for everybody to listen to. So it should be outstanding. Can't wait for this to start tomorrow afternoon. And I want to thank you, everybody, for listening to this show. And there was one other thing that I wanted to plug, but the articles. So I have an article out there currently previewing the entire College World Series, my annual power rankings of the 8 teams that are in the field, but also I'll be doing daily articles, picks articles for the College World Series as well. So if podcast really isn't your thing or YouTube's not really your thing, you can check out on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. I'll be writing daily articles throughout the College World Series. The engagement's been tremendous for the College World Series picks in the past years, and also college baseball picks this year has been growing like crazy. So the demand of my workload has gone up, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, I mean, daily picks podcasts, like everybody knows, here on the College Baseball Experience. So that's going to do it for me here on this show. You've been listening to, or you've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the College Baseball Experience. Adios, amigos.